Israel launches airstrikes on Sana'a, destroying airport terminal and civilian aircraft. US President Trump reiterates commitment to providing humanitarian aid to Gaza. And the European Commission is to propose measures to phase out Russian gas imports by 2027. Israel has launched a series of airstrikes on Yemen's capital Sana'a, with Houthi media reporting that the Israeli attacks completely destroyed the passenger terminal at the international airport in Sana'a, including departure and arrival halls, as well as civilian aircraft. The airstrikes targeted the entire Sana'a International Airport, as well as the Houthi-controlled central power stations, a cement factory in the Amran region, and all facilities and fuel stations in the capital. The Israeli military has confirmed that its airstrikes on Sana'a International Airport has completely disabled the facility. According to the Israeli Defense Forces, the airstrikes targeted the airport's runway, destroyed the passenger terminal, and damaged civilian aircraft. The strikes also impacted essential services within the airport. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and senior security officials supervised the bombing of Sana'a Airport from the operations room at the Ministry of Defense. Netanyahu vowed to continue using force against any perceived threats to Israel. This action follows a missile attack by the Houthis on the Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv last Sunday. Israel's response highlights the ongoing tensions in the region and Israel's commitment to protecting national security. The United Nations Special Envoy to Yemen, Hans Grunberg, has warned of a dangerous escalation following Israel's airstrikes on Sana'a. He stressed that the attack represents a severe escalation in an already fragile and volatile regional context. Grunberg called for urgent measures to protect civilians and civilian infrastructure in Yemen amid the mounting tensions. For more analysis, we now move to Munam Sidhi in our newsroom.
Thank you so much, Riham. And for further analysis, we're joined from Cairo by Al Ahram newspaper managing editor, Mr. Ashraf Al-Ashri. Good afternoon to you. And what is the strategic significance of Sana'a International Airports in the context of the ongoing conflict? And how will its destruction impact Yemen's infrastructure?
Good evening to you. Absolutely, the Israeli operation for the second day was expected and anticipated as a retaliation of the Palestine missile launched by the Houthi that hit the Ben Gurion airport that led to the casualties and the flee of around 3 Israeli millions to refugees. So Israel in retaliation hit Al-Hudaydah airport, and today the military operation in Sana'a airport by saying goal for goal and airport for another airport, and sending two messages in the meantime. One message to the Houthis: if you launch a missile, we will continue to strike civilian militarily facilities in Yemen. And another message to the Iran: you have to interfere to stop one of your big arms in the region, and to stop the striking by missiles against Israel. So the two strikes that strike some facilities, militarily and civil facilities, by sending a message that is to continue confronting any groups of the resistance access in Israel. But I think there are indicators in the upcoming hours to halt the military actions between the Israelis and the Houthis following Mr. President Trump's announcement that America will stop striking Houthis, as the Houthis demanded the halt of the American strikes in return, not to targeting the American ships in the Red Sea, as the U.S. will issue a very important political announcement in Thursday or Friday regarding the issues in the Middle East. And I think such announcement will halt the Israeli-American operations and against the Houthis from one hand, and to try to for the resistance in the Palestine to stop also in return. And think this is a very much anticipated announcement before Trump's visit to the region in Wednesday.
Mr. Ahmed, Mr. Ashri, how does Israel justify its airstrike on Yemen? What could be the potential long-term consequences for targeting civilian infrastructure like airports and power stations?
I think this matter is been such like a tit for tat, sending ballistics missiles by the Houthis, as these missiles Iranian made. So its impact to make us to enter the horror in the hearts of the Israelis in return. And Israel is retaliating to targeting very sensitive areas such as the port and the airport, as they are a very important gateway to flow of the humanitarian aids, along with the transferring the injured Yemenis with critical conditions from Sana'a to Middle East capitals for treatment. Therefore, Israel is targeting very sensitive areas for the Houthis. If Trump's announcement succeeded in the upcoming days to stop the hostilities in the Middle East, which is expected to stop the operation between Israel and the Houthis, and between the American, that they will stop from right now to targeting the Houthis following American military operation since the 15th of March. So we should wait positive surprises some way in the Middle East within the upcoming 48 hours to come.
Exactly, this is what I wanted to ask. And what could be the implications of this escalation between Israel and the Houthis for broader regional stability, particularly in the very vulnerable Middle East?
Certainly, such escalation has a very serious repercussions on the regional stability in the Middle East. Due to the operations between the Houthis and the others, will have a great impact on the movement of the maritime in the Red Sea, along with the Israeli security, and will be also having some sort of Iranian confrontation as the Israeli officials renewed that they will strike Iran, and whoever is going to approach by attacking Israel, America will retaliate in double retaliation with the side that their attacks coming from. So there will be some, no doubt, that a confrontation between Iran and Israel. So that's what's expected from the Trump's visit, to try to stop the fueling the area into chaos, in order to enrich for an understanding between Iran and America upon the beginning of the fourth round of negotiation between Iran and USA. And I think everyone will be addressing the dangerous repercussions upon Trump's arrival will hopefully lead to positive output that not to spoil negatively on his relationship with Saudi Arabia, UAE, or Qatar.
From your point of view, what can the international bodies, particularly the United Nations, do to de-escalate the situation and to mitigate the impact of these strikes on the civilian populations?
Certainly, United Nations, a humanitarian international organization, will have a positive role either in two fronts, in the Gaza Strip or in the Yemeni areas dominated by the Houthis, to provide humanitarian, in particular into Gaza. There is a genocide and a famine by Israel, and stopping the entry of the aids for the 60 days. So any rule from the United Nations or the United States wouldn't be effective and strong unless the war ends or the cessation of the hostilities in two fronts, in Yemen or Gaza. I wouldn't be happy unless the pressure of America to be implemented. And then will be the way to announce politically to stop the escalation in the region. So, and will give an opportunity for the international donors, UN, its organization, to provide humanitarian aid to save lives in Gaza and stop killing the Yemenis in Hudaybiyah and Sana'a in the upcoming days. We should wait to read what the days will tell upon the announcement of America regarding the conflicts and hostilities taking place in the Middle East.
Right. From Cairo, that was Al-Ahram newspaper managing editor, Mr. Ashraf Al-Ashri. We thank you so much for joining us here on Qnews. And back to you, Riham.
Thank you so much, Mona, for that. And now for the latest developments in Gaza. Israel's Security Cabinet has unanimously approved an expanded military offensive in Gaza, with plans to seize Palestinian territory and occupy the Strip. The operation aims to force Palestinians into southern Gaza, with Israeli officials anticipating months of intense fighting. As the offensive intensifies, Palestinian civilians face ongoing destruction, starvation, and a lack of humanitarian aid, which Israel continues to block. The Israeli government is awaiting a visit from US President Donald Trump, which could impact future developments in the region. US President Donald Trump has reiterated his commitment to providing humanitarian aid to Palestinians in Gaza as civilians continue to face severe shortages. Speaking from the Oval Office, Trump said the United States is working to ensure food reaches people in need, blaming Hamas for worsening the crisis by seizing aid supplies. He described residents of Gaza as suffering under Hamas's rule, but emphasized that the U.S. remains determined to support them. President Trump did not address reports of an expanded Israeli military operation in Gaza. U.S. President Donald Trump's special Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff has reaffirmed Washington's commitment to promote peace and prosperity for Israel. Speaking ahead of Trump's upcoming visit to Saudi Arabia, Qatar and the UAE, Witkoff said the administration is working tirelessly to ensure the future celebrations reflect peace, unity and progress in the region. He also pointed to ongoing U.S. efforts, including humanitarian aid to Gaza and the expansion of the Abraham Accords, with major announcements expected soon and normalizing ties between Israel and Arab states. U.S. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib has accused the United States of being complicit in what she described as a genocide in Gaza, saying Washington is enabling Israeli actions through continued support. In a statement posted on X, Tlaib condemned Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's reported plans to forcibly expel Palestinians and annex Gaza. She said the move amounts to ethnic cleansing. Tlaib, the first Palestinian American woman in Congress, added that the announcement follows over 2 months of Israel blocking humanitarian aid to Gaza. Re-elected in November, Tlaib called on the U.S. to end its role in backing the grave human rights violations. China has expressed strong opposition to Israel's military actions in Gaza, especially its plans to displace Palestinians in the enclave. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian reiterated China's concerns over the ongoing conflict, calling for the effective implementation of a ceasefire agreement by all parties involved. China recently participated in the International Court of Justice's hearings on Israel's obligations, where Ma Jinmin, China's representative, emphasized that Israel is legally required to allow humanitarian assistance to Gaza when the population's needs are unmet. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot has condemned Israel's plans to conquer and occupy territory in Gaza, calling the move unacceptable and a violation of humanitarian law. Barrot emphasized that France very strongly opposes the planned Israeli campaign. His comments added to the growing international criticism of the plan, with some of Israel's European allies also expressing concern. The Kremlin has confirmed that Russian forces will observe a ceasefire in Ukraine from May 8th to the 10th, in line with President Vladimir Putin's orders. Putin announced the 3-day ceasefire on April 28th to mark the 80th anniversary of the Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany in World War II. However, the Kremlin stated that Russian forces would respond if Ukrainian troops attempted to strike Russian positions during this period. The ceasefire will coincide with May 9th, when Putin will host international leaders, including Chinese President Xi Jinping, at Moscow's Red Square. All 4 of Moscow's major airports were reportedly closed for hours after Ukraine launched a second consecutive night of drone attacks against the Russian capital. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin said that Russian air defenses intercepted 19 drones flying toward the city from different directions. A Russian official said some debris had landed on highways leading to the city, but that no casualties were reported. The attack comes ahead of planned celebrations in Moscow to commemorate the end of World War II. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova has warned that the chances of reaching a peaceful settlement in Ukraine would be delayed if the West continues to supply weapons to Kyiv. Zakharova's comments came in response to a Reuters report indicating that Ukraine's Western allies were in talks to provide additional Patriot air defense systems to Kyiv, with an agreement expected before the NATO summit at the end of June. The European Commission will propose legal measures next month to phase out all Russian gas and liquefied natural gas imports by the end of 2027. This announcement was made by European Union Energy Commissioner Dan Jorgensen.
Next month, we take unparalleled actions and table a package of legislative proposals. We will introduce new rules on transparency, monitoring and traceability of Russian gas. We ask member states to make mandatory national plans for phasing out Russian gas, nuclear fuel and oil. These plans need to be ready by the end of this year. We ban all imports of Russian gas under new contracts and existing spot contracts taking effect as of the end of this year. We ban remaining imports of Russian pipeline gas and LNG under existing long-term contracts by the end of 2027.
That brings us to the end of our news bulletin. Here's what we've been covering. Israel launches airstrikes on Sana'a, destroying airport terminal and civilian aircraft. US President Trump reiterates commitment to providing humanitarian aid to Gaza. And the European Commission to propose measures to phase out Russian gas imports by 2027. This concludes our news bulletin and our transmission for today. Don't forget to follow Qnews on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at Qnews EG. Thank you for watching.